Mike, welcome to the Beyond Tax Season podcast. I really am looking forward to this conversation because from our introductory call, the word that resonated with me after talking with you is certainty. And with that, I'd like to hand the conversation to you. Please introduce yourself better than I ever could, and let's let it roll.
All right. Well, howdy. My name's Mike Sylvester. I'm a CPA in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I'm a very certain person. I'm also considered blunt. When I talk to new clients, I often use the word blunt. Accounting is my second career. I'm a licensed electrician. I spent 6 years on a nuclear submarine in the United States Navy. I've been the maintenance manager of factory. I spent 19 years in industry before I switched to accounting. I've been to 39 countries, 6 continents, every ocean but one. I'm the managing partner of a public accounting firm. We do quite well. I am also a co-founder of the Collaboration Room, which is a community of accounting firms who are trying to grow and improve their businesses.
Awesome. So I'm going to play off of that background before, because I just had a conversation with Blake Oliver, and I didn't realize that he was a trained concert cellist.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, before bookkeeping brought him into the accounting world. Now, his focus is on the firm that is a blank slate. He just came out with a book called Building a Sustainable Accounting Firm. I asked him about helping my target clientele, the folks already have a firm that is successful in terms of the revenue number, but not in terms of the stress load that they have. And he said, I'm not aimed at them. I'm helping the people that are going to build it the right way from the beginning. So why do I bring all that up? Because you bring that different brain structure of an electrician, of international exposure, a totally different way of looking at the world to the business of accounting. So many accountants did a tax return, somebody paid it for it. Oh, that's cool. I feel validated. I'm going to do another one and another one, another one. All of a sudden, they've got this blob of clients without really a plan. So with that and your certainty, your 17-point checklist for on your way to partner, which gives your team certainty. I mean, and again, from our first conversation, I don't think I have to give you much more fodder to speak. Lead on, Mike.
So I would agree with you. My previous background has really taught me how to troubleshoot, and I talk to a lot of accounting firm owners, a couple hundred a year for sure, if not more. And accountants tend to be, and this is a generalization, they tend to be a very introverted group. Um, I'm not introverted, I'm quite extroverted. Um, I am good at troubleshooting problems. I enjoy troubleshooting problems. I think that most firms that exist that are small have a large number of problems, and they really need to focus internally on how to fix them. And for a lot of them, it's hard. If you've been doing the same thing for 20 to 40 years in a row, day in, day out, you are likely a great accountant. You're likely great at what you do, but that does not mean that you are a strong business owner, and you likely need some help to improve your business practices. And in fact, there's things I need to improve on. We are focusing on improving and changing things every year. It's just you have to control the change. You have to identify what you need to do. You can't change everything at once. You need a system and a procedure to move forward.
I mean, didn't we learn that from Toyota and Kaizen? It's okay to always be improving.
We did. This might get pretty far into the weeds. So I
All
was a
right.
maintenance manager at a factory, and they really wanted to embrace just-in-time manufacturing.
Mhm.
And they were obsessed about it. I mean, obsessed about it. So
Mhm.
they hired a consultant that wore a suit. He came into the main branch of the company, which was in Ohio, and he convinced the owner to do it. So they decided to do it, and they formed a team internally of the company of people, 12 of us, and we had 12 meetings about how to implement this. And we had to drive over to Ohio. And man, the plant manager of my firm and the engineering manager of my firm, sometimes they would just wind me up on the way there because they didn't want to say anything that was bad because they were management people. And yes, I was a manager too, but boy, I'm blunt. So the consultant would come and we would have these meetings, and over I would say, this is not going to work because of X, Y, and Z. And the consultant would be like, oh, it can work. I'm like, look, man, we have equipment in the factory that made ammunition at the end of World War II. You're saying we can cut everything, and I'm telling you that we can't because we don't even have prints of our own machines. We custom make everything. You have to think differently. You want to make just enough product, but yet we have these big orange bins and we tend to fill them up, and you're not taking into account that it takes me 4 hours to change over that machine. I'm the maintenance manager. So no kidding, my company sent me to just-in-time manufacturing for skeptics twice. I went to a class in Detroit and Atlanta, and at the end of each, we started with, a room full of 30 skeptics. And at the end of it, 15 people had been converted and 15 people had not. And both times I was in the 15 that had not. And I will never forget the last meeting we had with this consultant in our company. The head
Well,
of our company looked across the
why could you
table.
not be converted? What was the block?
So this was a very strange factory. And I mean, this is part of the reason that makes me different than a lot of CPAs. So our workforce was 55% from Appalachia, 40% from a specific county in Mexico, and they weren't in the United States legally, and 5% locally from small town Indiana. They brought in their managers from the outside. In fact, at this factory, they had a pool on my first day of how long it would take everybody else to get me fired. And the person that had the longest in the pool who won was the operations supervisor, and she picked 90 days. She thought I would last 90 days, and nobody thought I would even last that. Now, I left on my own terms after 4 years, and they loved me. But but what happened at this factory is old equipment. I had to make procedures with pictures because my maintenance people couldn't read. Um, but yet you have these consultants who are saying, hey, we can cut everything down and computerize everything. I'm like, you can't do this when your workforce can't read, right? Only your managers can read. You have to think of things differently. Our equipment has been cobbled together for 60 years, right? 60 years. Everything's custom. The only people who know how it works are out there on the floor, and you've got to figure it out. You're trying to bring a system from Toyota, etc., but they have modern equipment, a modern engineering team. Everything's automated and computerized, and it's not in our factory. And
Are you
that's
using?
why it didn't work. And it didn't work. They spent
Hang
a
on, hang on.
ton
Are
of
you
money.
are you using that analogy to say that accounting firms need that customized perspective?
I'm saying that you asked why it didn't work at the factory I was at. It didn't work at the factory I was at because we were not a modernized operation. If you want to change your accounting firm, you have to partially modernize your operation in order to change. You have to do that in a controlled fashion. You can't
Let,
do it
let's
all overnight.
let's get concrete. What does that mean? Modernize your accounting firm in a control. What would be the set of modernizations, not the priority in which you would do it, but where do you see the common modernizations?
You've got to look at your processes. You've got to look at who your clients are and if you can standardize procedures with them. You have to look if you have certain clients that you just need to let go. You need to understand that there are potential new clients everywhere, and I mean everywhere. I had 530 that I know of that reached out to my firm last year with $0 spent. I only have 950 clients in our firm. If you have 530 people reaching out to you and you only have 950 clients, you can make whatever change you want, right? Because you can raise your prices, you can change things. If your clients don't like it, you can release them to seek other accounting pro opportunities,
So,
right?
Mike, you just tripped over 530 inquiries. Where'd those come from? Because a lot of my clients, they realize their business comes from the phone, people calling, but they don't have one, they don't track it, they don't know how many called.
Oh, that
Uh,
drives me nuts. I lecture people who don't know that. When I hire a person, they know that if there's incoming people, they have to track where they come from. And I'm so crazy about it. If they don't, they have to then call that new client and find out where did they really come from. I have trained everybody to do this in my office for 18 years. We are good at it. When I say at least 530, I have 530 where it's recorded. I'm sure a few slipped through the cracks. There's 530 on my Excel spreadsheet though, right? I am pretty picky about this, and I always will be. We can go back to 2008 and see where everybody came from. We can see every marketing campaign I ran. We can see that me and another firm used to take turns running the full page yellow book ad. I can tell you the success or failure of all the direct mail pieces we sent, which was over 100,000 over many years ago, right? If you don't track your marketing campaigns, you aren't doing marketing.
like I said, certainty. So
Certainty.
just, I know we'll find another topic that's really juicy, but let's dive into that 17-point checklist on the way to partner and who talks to them and what's that path look like?
So what we did at my firm is we made, and in this case, we is me, but my partner certainly had input. I made a qualification card. I come from the United States Navy. I've been a member of 3 unions. I've been the maintenance manager of factory. I come from a different background. No kidding. I remember walking into the factory one day. All the managers are up on the mezzanine, and all the people in the middle of the floor. There's a circle of people, and I went in there and broke up a fight. That is an unusual background for a CPA, right?
Right.
When I became a CPA, I still was under contract to go fix machinery in Shenzhen, China. And they actually paid me a retainer every quarter to be on call in case I needed to fly there and get there within 72 hours. So I look at things differently, and I want my staff to know what the path is to tax manager, and after that, what the path is to partner. So the way we've done it is we have a qualification card. On the qualification cards, there's you have to prove to us you can do this skill. 5 of the skills are signed off by Mike. 5 are signed off by my partner Karina, who's also my wife. 5 are signed off by my partner Brent. And then there's 2 more that have to be signed off on by all 3 of us because they're a big deal.
I love that. That is, because you're attacking the problem from both ends. You're giving your team a career path, which is something that they've uh, been asking for. How do I go forward? What exactly am I supposed to do? And you're also, I imagine, weeding people out because if they, do you have kind of an up or out, or do you let people just stay in one place on their checklist?
We actually do allow people to stay in one place, but what it does is it lets people know that if they don't complete those things, they're not going to advance.
And it's their
We do
choice.
not have an up and out thing. We are not into that. We have a lot of loyalty from our staff, and we have a lot of loyalty to them.
So you've grown mostly by the organic? You obviously did some active marketing. Are you doing the active marketing anymore?
We stopped in 2019. We can't take all of the organic growth that we have, but what we did do, and I enjoy marketing. I'm pretty good at marketing. I actually teach some courses on marketing. Um, we used to market, but we have grown our business to a size that we're comfortable with. We get a very specific amount of referrals that we ask for,
Mm.
and the rest of it comes from Google. 370 people reached out to our firm who found us on Google, and we have a mediocre website. But what we do have is I used to do a lot of marketing. I used to do pay-per-click advertising. I still am on the first page of every Google search that I wanted to be on back in 2016 to 2019 when I tracked this like a hawk. My admin used to have a task to go into Google and do certain keyword searches and send me a report on where we ranked. But the key to this is to run a blog and have a blog attached to your website and put current content on your blog. Then you can use that current content on your blog. Google looks at it, and I'm not a Google expert, and they change the rules all the time. But when you have a blog and you put up current content, Google counts that as you having an up-to-date website and
Right.
gives you credit for it. If you do a keyword search, no matter where you are when you watch this interview for Fort Wayne CPA, do you know who comes up first? I do.
That's
I
amazing.
have come up first for 20 years. Okay. If you do a keyword search for Fort Wayne CPA, my firm comes up. Period. We're number one.
That's awesome.
Why? Because I do all these blog posts and I sign a Mike Sylvester CPA.
Yep.
Because sometimes I write that if you're looking for a CPA in Fort Wayne, Indiana, give me a call. Right? I have so many posts about Fort Wayne CPA that I am number one and I will always be number one.
That, well, and you can hire that. You did it, but a firm owner could make that a system and make someone post that content and be active there.
And I do.
And
And I use AI to speed the process at which I write them.
exactly.
And if I could be smarter about it than I am. I just had one of my staff write a really good blog post about clean energy credits that are expiring under one big beautiful bill. They expire on 9/30.
All right.
I want my clients to know that if they want to buy an electric vehicle, those credits are ending in 6 weeks.
So I was in a meeting, they call it the Tesla credit.
Yeah, sure. You can call it the Tesla credit. But what I don't want to have happen is not only am I looking at new clients, I want to keep my existing clients.
Mhm, mhm.
We have an online form that new clients must fill out or they won't be considered. Right? They must fill out every question on the new form. I don't care who they are. If they don't fill out every question, you know what? They never hear from us again. Right?
That one of the 530?
So let's say 530 people reached out to us last year that I know of, which they did. Each of those 530 people, whether they emailed us or whether they called us, were directed to my admin. My admin has a phone script that she reads, and she is extremely good at this. She is an A plus at this. She has a little talk with them. She says, "Hey, we are accepting some new clients." She goes through her little phone script and she says, and really, she does a really good job at this. And she says, "Hey, we have an online form. I'll send you an email. You have to click the link in the email. If you don't get the email in the next 30 minutes, call me. And when you call back, don't ask for me and tell me you didn't get it because it means it's in your spam filter or it means I typed in a letter wrong." Right? Then they get an onboarding form. They go out and they fill out the entire onboarding form. The onboarding form says, "Hey, our minimum fees are this." hey, if you're looking for a short, quick question to be answered, we're not your person. We're only looking for people who want to become long-term regular clients. If that's you, continue on. And then there's a series of questions they have to answer, and they have to answer 'em. If they don't answer them, the form's not completed and we don't talk to them. Even if they answer them and we don't like what they say, we'll reach out and say, yeah, you're probably not a good fit for us. And we wish you luck, you know. But not all of those 530 people fill out the form. And that's purposeful for me. I don't want them to. If they can't fill out the onboarding form in a competent way, are they going to be able to give me their tax stuff in a competent way? No.
I don't, no, I
Are they
absolutely,
going to be able to use my portal? No.
yeah.
We are actually getting ready to move the system inside our practice management software. And moving forward, even fewer people will be able to complete the process because they're going to have to upload copies of their tax return. They're going to have to prove to me they can use my portal. And instead of getting 50% of the people to fill it out, it'll probably drop to 40.
Yeah, I mean, whether you did it or not, you're following the track of great leaders. Darren Root, I mean, he was one of the first that said, inform your clients of your process and get their agreement that they're going to work inside your process.
Yes.
Paul Latham, a guy in the UK that kind of got me into this space, at a firm that was so mechanized. He had his marketing dialed in for 50-year-old business owners that wanted to exit in 5 years. That was his target. And he built a firm that was 80% advisory, 20% compliance. And they got an unsolicited offer for $42 million, 4 times revenue. They weren't for sale, but at that price, they were for sale. So I bring that all up, just again, the certainty, the systems, the mindset you bring, because you said CPAs are great practitioners or whatever you said. I think what has happened is the AICPA has basically squeezed out the life so that most accountants show up as very linear thinkers, very risk averse. They don't have this multivariable way of looking at the world that you bring by as being an engineer, or as Blake Oliver brings as being a cellist. So with that comment, let me go ask a specific, because I'm betting you have a referral script. And that referral script, who is it trying to tease out? Who is your perfect fit client?
So what I have found over the years is that my best clients send me the best referrals. We do not specifically ask our clients for referrals. What we do instead is on the tagline of my email, I have a signature. It asks for referrals. It points out that we are still accepting new clients and we appreciate all the referrals they have sent us over the years. We send out one client letter a year. In it, in the first paragraph, we ask for referrals. We give people work product that's tax returns. The last paragraph of the letter telling them about their tax return tells them we're looking for referrals. We've automated the process of asking for referrals. Now, I also have had a lot of success with my email newsletter to my existing clients. I think it's one of the keys to our success. My average open rate is 63%.
Let's go down that path, because so I imagine, I mean, everybody will buy the canned lists, and clients know they're canned. They run through the list of to-dos or deadlines or happenings, or even apple pie recipes. What do you do in your newsletter? How do
Oh,
you?
I don't do any of that. Now, I used to. What's funny is we did have an admin at one time who was very creative. And she put together an elegant, beautiful, wonderful email newsletter. And she would include pictures and clip art. And I'm serious, she did a great job at it. She is the only really creative person we've ever employed who enjoyed doing that.
Mhm.
My email newsletter is short, brutal, and to the point. And it hasn't always been, but somewhere between 2016 and 2019, I realized my clients don't want a recipe from me. They are not interested in that. So instead, what we do, we don't do any of that anymore. We
Mhm,
have a template that we use that includes our contact information.
mhm.
And we write a paragraph that says, howdy, it's July. This is the July email newsletter, and in it, we're going to discuss how cool TaxDome is and how you should join TaxDome. We're going to talk about the absolute dumpster fire that the IRS is and how hard it is to deal with the Internal Revenue Service. And we're going to talk about the fact that the tax code has completely changed. And that's a paragraph. And then there's a paragraph down below that talks about how the IRS is changing and becoming a dumpster fire. And then there's a link if they want to learn more. And that goes to our website, to our blog. And there's 3 blog posts that we've written. So we're not duplicating effort. We take the effort to put up 3 blog posts. We convert those 3 blog posts into an email newsletter, and it takes us about 45 minutes, right? Each time we send it out. Then we send it out. They open it. Open rate's 63% on average. Believe it or not, it's higher during tax season. It's
Mhm.
lower during the slow season, right? People are more focused on taxes in February, March, and April, so they're more likely to open it. They skim it, then they close it unless there's something they're interested in.
Got
That's
it.
how we do it, and it's worked very well for me. I have really thought about making an elaborate newsletter. I don't see the point.
Got it. Who is your perfect client? If you could line them up like cordwood, and you've got their facilities to service them at the level you want to provide the service, but how would you define that ideal client to your firm?
I want businesses with between 1 and 20 million in annual revenue. I either want them to have a qualified internal bookkeeper or I want to do their bookkeeping. When I say I mean my staff. I want clients who want some tax planning. I want clients who want some tax advisory services. I want clients who value what I do and realize that I provide a higher level of service than has become common. And I particularly like both service-based businesses and blue-collar businesses. My blue-collar background has given me a pretty easy way of communicating with people who are plumbers and have factories and who are electricians and who are engineers unless they're electrical engineers and they're a little different. And I kind of warn them when electrical engineers come on because I'm an
What
electrician.
does tax planning and tax advisory mean to you?
So I think that there's a lot of firms that are pushing into that space and doing it very poorly.
Okay.
I just met with a new client on Wednesday who was sold an $18,000 tax plan that it probably took somebody 2 hours to type into commercial tax planning software that has a whole lot of errors in it. They are actually recommending that a person with $10 million worth of real estate become an S corp. They're also recommending that a person that has lives in rural Indiana, charges $4,000 a day to use the Augusta rule for 14 days a year and say that they have business meetings there, which, I mean, come on, do better. And the tax plan just goes on and on. There's some valid things in it. There's some invalid things in. But the problem is they sold it as a deep dive into their taxes and they just put some basic data in a tax planning software and printed off 6 strategies, 3 of which flat out don't work. I think the only way you can do tax planning properly is if they're your clients, you look pretty carefully at their tax returns. And throughout the year, you say, look, if you want to save on taxes, you can do A, B, and C. And we can talk about A, B, and C. But just sending them an email saying do A, B, and C is not going to, it's not going to get it done.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. Yeah. We won't use names, But
I did not use names, but I was tempted to
yeah,
because I'm pretty upset at some of these companies.
well, I have a client that, again, we won't use names, but, and we won't even use states, but, had a friend on the state board of accountancy and reported that company to the state board of accountancy.
Sure. I actually think they should be. My insurance company and my attorney would not be happy if I did so.
Right, right, got it.
Right. That's just the way it is. But I think some of them are really putting out criminal level work. I would be embarrassed if I was them.
Right. No, I'm with you. I've seen some of the copies myself. So where do you stand on the more advanced tax strategies? I mean, where you really go in and say, okay, let's do this. It has this effect on, and you different entities and where to hit the adjusted gross income or where to hit the business. Do you go to that level of detail in your tax planning and tax advisory?
If clients want to pay for it, for sure. I think where people are also going wrong with tax planning is they have to communicate the cost and they have to do it with clients who want to do it, right? And
Right.
I think that if you use these big tax planning softwares, they're saying, hey, enter all this data, spit it out a report, and charge them 25% of what we say the first year savings are and walk. That doesn't work. That's insane, right?
Yeah,
You
I'm
can,
with,
huh?
I'm absolutely with you. The, and again, it comes up over and over again that accountants are in this special place in the business owner's life. And they can do so much good. And it's really exciting to start to bring these things because they're busy doing what they do, right? I mean, I just had a conversation with the client going from simple to 401k to defined benefit plan. And if you go slow and talk them through it, they understand for what, there's a forgetting cycle, right? But being there and then tie into cash flow, tying it to investment philosophy, tying it to tax philosophy, what's your income tax? But to just spit out a report and say, here's what to do without I'll call it hand holding, the implementation. There's discovery, there's design, and there's implementation. And without all of that, and without the relationship where the client's with you all the way, the steps are worthless. They have to be
I think so.
they have to be done together. But,
I think so.
yeah, yeah. That,
I
that, that,
mean, I would agree. Accountability is a hard one. But if you're not regularly meeting with them and saying, okay, so we talked about how to set up this 401k, did you? Right? I
right.
mean, why didn't you? Right? This is the main strategy you were supposed to do, my friend. Well, I'm blunt, so I do that. Right? And sometimes it doesn't go over well because people are like, well, I got busy. I'm like, well, okay, but realize you paid me to lower your taxes and then you didn't implement the plan. So you didn't lower your taxes, but you paid me money to do so.
All right, well, let me come back and be a little blunt because I've heard that one before. Well, I referred them to a third party administrator. That's like telling a 4-year-old to go play in the traffic. They don't know where to go. They don't know how to dodge the bullets. So I'm going to be blunt with you. Do you have any way to really guide the implementation rather than just asking why? Because why puts people in a defensive position. How could you help them? How could you say, okay, well, I have an associate, I have an affiliate that will sit down with, and I will do a formal handoff, and we will design the plan that you should have together, and we will check in, and it'll be part of my deliverable to you that you got it done. Have you ever thought of going that far down the road instead of just, oh, here are 3 cards for a third party administrator?
I have, and
Okay.
I have some clients that want that level of hand holding and others that don't. But
Yeah.
yes, I have some that where we've done that.
Yeah.
Now, I refuse to only have one source,
Oh, I
right?
understand.
I don't like that. Mike doesn't play that. But yes, I have. But I find that the only people who are interested in that are the ones who really have a lot of money and a lot going on. And I find that they actually are interested in that.
Got it.
And
Well, that goes back to the ideal client, but I mean, 1 million of revenue, 10 million of revenue, or no, well, you said 1 to 20. Greg Crabtree shares with us, and he got it from somebody else. Revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash flow is king. So, where do you find that sweet spot of people that have enough success in the profit and cash flow? You got to be able to have liquidity to do some of these things. Where do you find that sweet spot?
I think people who are regularly over time making between 500,000 and 2 million a year tend to be the ones that are willing to invest the time and effort to implement systems that will lower their tax bill. I
I
feel like people who are under that, they just don't prioritize it because they just don't tend to see the value.
Well, they're probably also consuming.
Oh, almost all of it. I mean, the number of people who are making three, four, $500,000 a year and almost living paycheck to paycheck is staggering.
Yeah, yeah.
It's staggering.
So, Mike, I think we've dug deeply into certainty. What would be your guidance for other firm owners? How to, you talked about the 5 things that will pop out as need to be fixed. How do they, where do they bite that football? How do they bite that? How do they get their, sink their teeth in?
So I think the hardest thing to do if you have multiple owners in your firm, is to get you all on the same page first. Right. I think that is the hardest thing. I mean, I do a certain amount of one-on-one coaching. I do a lot of coaching one to many, right, inside the community that I run.
Mhm.
I think people have to make a decision if they want to improve. Do I want to hire a coach who is going to hold me accountable? Do
Mhm.
I want to join one or more communities where I can bounce ideas off other firm owners and get their input? But I'm going to tell you, all of this is pie in the sky if the owners aren't on the same page, right? You have to get on the same page. Is it time to improve or not? And if you have one partner who wants to improve and two who don't, you might as well just hang it up now because it's not going to happen. You just give up.
You speak the truth.
Oh, I've seen it a lot. I mean,
Let- let-
I actually really enjoy doing due diligence engagements when people are buying another firm. And almost always I end up saying, you probably should not buy this firm. I mean, well over 80% of the time. And it generally doesn't take me long to come to that conclusion.
I'd forgotten about that part of what you do.
But
Let's
but
hold
so
that.
I've had my hands in a lot of firms.
I got it. I got it. Let's talk about your community. What are the goals for your community? How can we help people find your community and know that it's the right place for them? Talk about your community.
So we're the collaboration room. Most people end up finding us on LinkedIn or X. And I have a big mouth on X, so a lot of it's come from X over the years. And what we do is we help people learn how to grow and improve their firms in a collaborative setting. We have extremely active forums where people can ask questions. We've actually recently developed a peer-to-peer network that's pretty fun, where we have maybe 4 international tax experts. So if you need help with international tax, you reach out to them. We have people who are experts on partnerships. I'm one of the experts on S corps. I just did a session 2 days ago with a young person who's starting his own firm on the side. He's still working for another firm. He's filing an S corp tax return. It's pretty darn complicated, so he wanted somebody to check it, basically. So we got online and shared screens, and I helped him figure out basis going back several years and deal with kind of how I would deal with the errors on the return. We do a lot of collaborative sessions. I think in August we had 11. I ran one on how much should you earn and went through statistics on how much CPAs earn in the United States, depending on what they're doing. I run a large firm mastermind group that is people with firms with 8 to 30 people, 8 to 30 employees. We kind of meet once a month. Every other month, I do a group of new firm owners. I did one on package pricing this week. We have 9 coaches that cover different topics. So, the main purpose of the room is one-to-many coaching. Very active forums. We have a tax expert who does research for people. Uh,
Wow.
it's been good. We're a mixture of existing firms and newer firms.
Hmm.
Um, Most of the people who have firms in our group are probably 5 or less. There is a pretty significant group that are 8 to 30 as well.
Sounds like you can get just about anything you want.
That's probably going a little too far, but there's a lot there. There's a lot of different people who will help you there. We've formed a pretty strong community. It's
Hmm.
growing by several every month. Um, the
Well,
live groups I think are really what's popular, but the forums are awful active too. I mean, there's about 140 comments on posts every month,
right,
every week.
right.
And then
How
there's
would folks
maybe
join?
40 posts a week at this point with people saying, "Hey, I have this situation. What would you do?" I
Yep.
mean, there's a big one going on right now with somebody that wants one of their clients wants to start a not-for-profit and I think there's 20 of us that have chimed in and said, "Oh, I wouldn't do this or beware of that." So there's a lot of practice management. There's a lot of, hey, how does this work in your state? There's another post that went up today where somebody's saying, "Hey, I'm not used to New York City taxes. Can somebody help me with New York City taxes?" There's a guy that does a bunch of New York City taxes. He's already responded. They're going back and forth. They're helping each other. I mean, I wish there would have been something like this when my wife started our business back in 2001, but there was not. But
Right.
there is now, and there's a lot of these communities, and there's a lot of good ones. And there's ones that focus on starting a firm. There's ones that focus on being a big firm. There's one that focuses on not-for-profits. Um, the sky is the limit.
How would people join? Let's give people a path to join.
The best way would be to go to our website and go to thecollaborationroom.co. It's not .com, but go to thecollaborationroom.co. That's our sales page. From our sales page, you can join our email newsletter. You'll get an email newsletter over the next several months. Every couple of weeks, we like to put some free resources in there. On our website, you've got some free resources, you've got some videos, you can kind of see what it's about. That's probably the best place to go.
Excellent, excellent. We'll make sure everybody knows that. Now let's wrap up with this really unique thing you do, doing due diligence on purchases. And as you tell us about that, can you also kind of touch on this move for private equity?
I
That
can.
private equity is coming
I
in and
can. The
rolling up.
last 2 weeks, I've talked to 5 different private equity groups. I actually reached out in my social media accounts and said, "Hey, I want to talk to some of you guys." And I had a bunch reach out to me that wanted to kind of, and in fact, I'm going to have 2 of them come inside the collaboration room and do 1 hour sessions telling my members what they think is coming, right? And what they're seeing. And boy, those 2 have very different viewpoints, which
Those
is,
two. What are those two?
who are they?
No. You
What
said
are they?
two. No, you're saying
So
two.
there's one that kind of is a standard M&A person.
Mhm.
He deals with private equity some. He's developing a product that involves data. He's a CPA who then moved into finance and he deals with a lot of different deals throughout the year. The other is a group that is trying to that has formed a group backed by private equity that has a bunch of resources. And their sales pitch is, we will buy part of your firm and we will teach you how to grow your firm. And then we will all sell at once and you'll have the option of selling at a higher multiple, which is, that is a very unique proposition. I have not seen
It,
that
it,
one
I,
before.
I'm thinking of two people that you need to, that I'd suggest might be useful inside your forum. One is Brandon Poe, because he embraces private equity as how one of the buyers that will help you vet. Uh, the other, I want to be careful and just say, is the gentleman's name David?
No,
Okay.
no, it's not
And
Dave.
then we ought to, after this, talk about, maybe have him there too, because very, very interesting model. As you, he's got a UK focus and a US focus. They have a target total
Yeah,
revenue.
and you know what? You could reach out to me and I could talk to them, because what I like to do is, I don't necessarily agree with one of these in specific that I'm going to have come in with his philosophy at all.
Mhm, mhm.
But I think the key is to put all this information out and let your members decide for themselves.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly.
I'm pretty anti-public private equity. I actually worked at a firm that got bought out by private equity when I was an electrician, and it was a disaster on 2 feet. I could tell horror stories for an hour. It was bad. But
Yep,
uh,
yep,
private equity is coming, and it's important that people understand the good and the bad that it brings, and it brings some of both, but
yep.
it's reality. You need to understand what's happening
Exactly,
in our
exactly.
space. So I think those sessions are going to be a lot of fun. We're going to do, I think, one in September and I think one in October, with some outside experts. And, it's fun, but due diligence on firms is wild. I've done it. I've had some non-CPAs who wanted to buy firms who hired me to say, make sure I'm not buying garbage, Mike. But mostly what happens is people hire me about a firm they want to buy when they're maybe an employee, or they're, should I go out on my own or should I buy a firm? Um, I'm doing one early next week for a guy that has a very strange offer that was made to him, that we're going to have a good talk about. But, you know, there's also maybe a couple of firms I may go look at in a neighboring state where they actually want me to go there in person and make sure that the quality of some of their work is up to snuff.
Mhm.
Um, but most M&A experts tend to represent the seller. I tend to represent the buyer. So what I'm doing is I'm looking under the hood to see if you should buy it or not. I have always felt that business brokers often get paid a percent of the sale price, and they have a vested interest in selling it to you for a high price. So
Well,
I generally, my biggest engagement, I actually did represent the seller, but most of the time I represent the buyer.
here's the problem with the brokerage business, be it real estate or practices. The percentage is already high enough that an extra 100 or 50 grand or whatever doesn't really mean much to the broker. They just want the deal to get done. They're not looking
They
at the.
have a vested interest in getting it done.
Exactly, exactly.
And you have to keep that in mind, that they're not on your side necessarily.
They want the deal to get done, whether it's a
They
good
don't get
deal or not.
paid unless the deal gets done.
Got it. Got it.
And I am skeptical of, well, all of them.
Well, it's a healthy dose of skepticism is good for all of us.
I
So,
think
I think we've covered it all. Certainty, guidance for firm owners, your community, due diligence, uh, your marketing, your mindset that you bring that's so different than most folks, and your perfect fit client. Anything else that you want to share in this session? Because I think we're going to be able to tease out other specific sessions down the road if you're up for it.
I will be up for it. And I think if people own firms, they need to realize they're not on their own. They shouldn't be on their own. I remember back when my wife started our firm, she was by herself. We had moved to a new place. She didn't know anybody, and nobody was going to answer her questions and help her run a firm because they thought she was the competition and would steal their clients. I still have firms in the office park that my firm is in that will not talk to us. They will not talk to us. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't have any competition. I have 530 potential new clients who reach out to me a year without trying. So I don't worry about losing clients. I like to help other people because there's a shortage of accountants in the United States. And
Right.
AI and outsourcing is going to hollow out the bottom level, and it is going to create a tremendous amount of opportunities for people because PE just wants to outsource, 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 and make more money. And they're going to create a hole in the accounting profession at the bottom.
That's enough for today. There's everything you say leads to the next conversation. What would you like to be your final comment to the listeners of the Beyond Tax Season podcast?
You are not alone. If you need help, hire a good coach, join a good community, and reach out to others. We should not be competing with each other. We should be helping each other. There is a large shortage of accountants in the United States. Take advantage of it.
Perfect. Thanks very much.